Are we witnessing the beginning of the end? Check out this great clip over here with Beck. We're going to watch it together, then talk about it. But first, hit subscribe in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch.
Right now, there is a machine sitting in a warehouse where a worker is placing a book into it. And the blade comes down, the spine is cut away, the pages race through a scanner, and then the book is not discarded, it's shredded. Not recycled, not damaged in a flood, not lost in a fire. It's destroyed on purpose because now the digital copy is now considered enough. Now imagine this is happening again and again and again, not 100 times, not 1,000 times, millions of times. They want every book on planet Earth to be ingested into the machine. Now that on in and of itself is fine. That's a fine goal, okay? Not shredded. Now, Anthropic is one of the largest artificial intelligence companies in the world, and they have launched a project called Project Panama. And its goal is simple and ruthless. Acquire every book in the world that you can, scan it, and destroy the original. Why not give them to libraries? Now, this was not an accident. This is not a warehouse mistake. That's the process. They had already been raked over the coals and fined for training on pirated books. So this time they say, we'll buy them legally, by the pallet, from the wholesalers all over the world. Then the books went into industrial scanners and they were shredded. Now, here's the problem. If you want to do this to new books, fine. You know, there's millions in copies of this book, fine. But Anthropic knew exactly how you would feel about this. So they issued a private, confidential internal memo and told the employees to keep this whole operation secret. Quote, we don't want it to be known what we're working on right now, okay? So these rare bookstores started getting phone calls. And these are bookstores where the owner might, sell a book a day, maybe. All of a sudden they're getting calls. Do you have these titles? Yeah. You have these 300 titles? Yeah, we'll buy all of them. Bulk orders were arriving. Pallets of books, rare books. No questions answered. Questions asked, nothing answered. Well, when this was found out, this went to court. You're destroying rare books. Court ruled buying one copy and turning it into a digital copy is fine as long as you destroy the paper one. Keep both and you have two copies, but you shred the original and you still only have one. So you can do that. Really? The destruction of the original became the legal argument that made this okay. So when the truth finally came out, men and women who have dedicated their lives to protecting books, to protecting history, these rare books, they were obviously outraged. When I read this story, I was outraged. In some cases, the books that have been destroyed were the single remaining copy left known in the world, and it's gone. I don't know. That bothers me. Does that bother anybody else? Let me tell you why. First of all, I want America to win the AI race. I want American companies building the smartest systems on earth. Books should help them train these systems. Books are some of the finest thinking humanity has ever done. Compared to the endless flood of machine-generated garbage and slop filling the internet, books are civilization's memories. Scan them, learn from them, preserve them, but never confuse scanning with shredding. Those are two very different acts. And not every book is the same. Like I said, some exist in the millions. Fine. Others exist by the dozens. Some may exist in under 5. And the machine doesn't know the difference. And apparently the law doesn't know the difference. And more importantly, Anthropic doesn't. They are ordering books by the thousands of ISBN numbers at a time. and they cut everything exactly the same. One rare book, only copy. There are 5 copies. Let's be absolutely. Let's gift Anthropic. There are 5 copies of this book. They buy one. They destroy one. This is something that I have been warning about for a long time. I don't know if you'll remember, but I have said it over and over again. Buy paper copies of books. Buy the paper copies of books. A book is more than ink and paper. A book is a witness. Once it's printed, it can't quietly change overnight. Nobody can sneak into your library at night and rewrite page 247. Nobody can update chapter 5 while you're asleep. The printed book stays exactly the way, and what it said the day it left the press will always be that way, forever. A digital file is different. Now, I'm not claiming Anthropic is secretly changing books. I'm saying something more simple and much more dangerous. Without the original, there is nothing left to check against the file. The original is the referee. You destroy the referee, and eventually somebody else decides what the score was. Okay? That's not paranoia. This is history. You cannot destroy the original because any digital copy can be changed and you have nothing to check it against. And we have been here before, and like I said, it wasn't good. Let me show you this. This is from 1552, but it started in 1526. An English scholar named William Tyndale. He committed what powerful men considered to be an unspeakable and unforgivable crime. He took the Bible, the New Testament, and he translated it into English. He believed ordinary people should be able to read the scripture for themselves in their own homes. Well, the king didn't think so. Why? Because if the king controlled the books, if he controlled the language, if he had control and you couldn't read the book, he could tell you anything. Oh, yeah, here's where, yep, Jesus said, the king's right on this one. It's right here. Oh, you can't read it. He could make things up. So Tyndale started printing these, page at a time. One printer would say, I never want to see you again, but here, I'll print 100 pages. Only 100 pages. That page, I'll print it 100 times, and then I never want to see you here again. Well, the Bishop of London came up with a clever plan. He didn't raid the printers. He didn't even outlaw the books. He bought them. Once they went on the market, after Tyndale died, okay, he bought them. He'd go into a store and he'd go, oh, that's a Tyndale Bible, just like this one. And he'd buy it. And he bought them through a middleman named Augustine Packington. His job was to buy every copy you can find, pay the premium, pay over, doesn't matter. Get them all, then burn them. 500 years ago, they already understood something we seem to be forgetting here. You don't have to argue against an idea if you can make sure that nobody else has a copy of it. And the story almost ended there. After a short period of time, there were 3,000 copies in the first printing of this book. Only 3 survive today. 3. If a few ordinary people had not hidden those books, history itself would have been poorer. We remember Tyndale because someone refused to let that last copy disappear. This copy was in the library of the British Library over 150 years before we were a country. Okay, this particular copy. History is filled with stories like this. The Nazis burned books in the streets and everybody cheered. Communists go in, they shred the archives. They rewrote the past so the party could never be wrong. It happened in Russia. It happened in China. Authoritarians, ideologues. It happens in Iran. Every regime that feared free thought has always done the same thing. They understood the simple truth. If you control the record of yesterday, you control what people believe about tomorrow.
Now, here is where this gets crazy, because what Glenn Beck is describing is not really about books. It's about truth. Who controls truth? Who decides what actually happens? And what happens when we reach a point where human beings can no longer distinguish between what is real and what is fake? Because almost 2,000 years ago, the Talmud describes the generation leading into the coming of Mashiach. And listen to the words. Va'emes tiyeh nederet. Truth will disappear. Not lies will increase. Not people will become dishonest. Truth itself will become absent. And the Gemara in Sanhedrin asks why, what that means. And it says truth will become separate flocks, separate groups. Everybody has their own truth. Think about the world we are living in right now. One group tells us one thing. Another group tells us the exact opposite. One side says this person is good. The other side says he's evil. One side says this is justice. The other side says this is oppression. We increasingly cannot even agree about the basic facts underneath the argument. And now artificial intelligence arrives. We can create voices that never existed, pictures of things that never happened, videos of people saying things they've never said, documents that were never written. And Glenn Beck is asking an even more frightening question. What if at the same time that we gain the ability to manufacture reality, we begin destroying the physical evidence? That tells us what reality actually was. That old book sitting on the shelf is a witness. You cannot remotely update it. You cannot change 3 sentences in every copy overnight. It is sitting there. This is what was written. This is what people believed. This is what happened. And if the physical referee disappears, eventually we could find ourselves in a world where somebody says that never happened. And you answer, yes, it did. Prove it. And your proof exists inside the exact same digital system that he does not trust. This is the truth being lost. But there's another part of this that I think is even more disturbing. Isaiah says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. They call darkness light and light darkness. That it's not simply losing information. That is losing the ability to distinguish between opposites. Good becomes bad, bad becomes good, light becomes darkness, darkness becomes light. And then look at the rest of the description in Sota on the generation before Mashiach. The wisdom of scholars will be despised. People who fear sin will be treated with disgust. Truth will disappear. The young will shame the old. Respect for authority collapses. And the Gemara ends with the extraordinary statement. Who do we actually have to end up relying on? Only on our Father in heaven. That does not mean we stop thinking. It means that does not mean we stop investigating. It means there comes a point where the confusion becomes so profound that humanity begins losing the basic anchors that held society together. Truth, morality, authority, history, borders, languages, and culture. The difference between good and evil. I think Glenn Beck's kip becomes much bigger than Anthropic shredding books. I'm not telling you that Anthropic is fulfilling biblical prophecy. I'm not telling you that someone has a secret plan to erase history. That's not the point. The point is that we're developing the technology and ability to create a world that the prophets and the rabbis described in astonishing language. A world where truth becomes almost impossible to find. A world where everybody lives inside his own version of reality. A world where good is called evil and evil is called good. And maybe, just maybe, The strangest part of all this is that the Talmud did not describe that as the end. It described it as what happens before something begins, before redemption, before Mashiach. So I want to leave you with the same question I asked at the beginning. Are we witnessing the beginning of the end? Or maybe, more accurately, are we beginning to understand what the rabbis meant when they told us that the end would actually be the beginning of a process? So if you like this message, please like, share, and subscribe. Please comment. And we definitely are entering into the Messianic age. Thank you for watching.